Hi there, it's me, Laura from Laura's Light with a C because I see you. And also, I'm Dutch, and that is the way how you write it in Dutch. Oh no. Hi, I'm Laura. At this moment, I'm 30 years old, and there's so much happening in my life. Obviously, I started Laura's Light. I started a website. I started a YouTube channel. I also started social media. Right now, we're waiting for the keys of our new house because we bought a house, and it's very soon right now, just a couple of weeks, and then we will get the key, and then we're gonna move, and there's a lot to do because we're gonna rebuild the house, or at least a little bit like renovate it. We're gonna do lots and lots of things in the program ahead of us. Like, it's gonna be so fun, and I'm so is going to be a really raw video. So I want to give you a short warning, but very clear warning. I am going to show you lots of heavy footage, a lot of heavy images, and also I'm going to share lots of heavy stories. So if you're not into that, if you find that scary, or if you take that with you on your day, maybe do not watch this. I also really hope YouTube is not going to delete this because of all the heavy images, but it's my story and I really want to share it with you guys. So obviously, as you can hear, I have a lot of emotions around this story because it is definitely the story that has changed my life, and it will forever be the biggest scar that I'll ever carry. So this is what it's all about. I got this scar. It starts right here, ends just above my ear. It goes all the way around, and I got it on my 15th year of life, and I got into a terrible accident because of a very reckless driver. For me, this is definitely the biggest impact I've ever had in my life, and probably ever will have. Hopefully, this won't be topped by anything else, but as you can understand and as you can hear, there will be lots of emotions for me, and I'll probably cry a lot. I'm not ashamed of that though, because I think it's very healthy to pour out your emotions to get them out of your system. I just want to be really real with you guys because this is how life can be, and this is what can happen to you even at a very young age. So obviously there are lots of stories that I can tell you guys about things that were very hard, difficult, and unfair that were happening to me in my life. I was bullied. Lots of things happened before I was 15, okay? But I really want to focus on this story. And why I want to share that with you guys, I'll tell at the end of the video. So please keep on watching, and also please be gentle with me and my heart and my feelings. So please leave a little love in the comments if you want to. I would really appreciate it. I'm really afraid that this video will take an hour, so I'm just gonna jump right in. On the 18th of April 2011, fate struck. Destiny struck. And not in a good way. Me and my mom wanted to ride our horses outside of our own garden and our own house and space we had, because we could ride at our own place, but we decided to ride outside. We lived in a small village, so it was not busy outside, and it was also a lovely day. We could jump onto the horses and just go horseback riding outside on the road. So, foolishly enough, we only had one cap. Now, we never really rode our horses together, so one cap always was enough, except at that time we wanted to ride our horses together outside, and let's say a little argument came out of that. Because obviously my mom, being a mom, was like, you are gonna wear that cap, because I would never forgive myself ever if something happened and I was wearing the cap. And I was like, Mom, trust me, I'm not gonna fall. I rode my horse back then every single day. I really trusted him. I really knew him. And, I wasn't scared of falling. I was like, I can do this, We are going to drive our horses. We are going to ride our horses. And it's okay. You take the cap, and then I said, I'll never forgive myself if something happens and I'm wearing the cap. So after a little bit of arguing back and forth, she agreed to put on the cap, and I was not wearing any cap whatsoever. Obviously, I know that that's very irresponsible and very stupid, but mind you, I was 15 and I was riding my horse every day, and I didn't see anything going wrong. I couldn't imagine anything going wrong. And yeah, that was not the best way to go. So at the house where my parents live, just a couple houses further, there is a long road all the way into the village. It's a very not busy road, just a couple of tractors maybe, and for the rest of it, it's just farmer houses and lots of land, okay? So there's nothing much there. So we decided to just go around the corner a couple houses further and then just ride that road. So we decided to go onto that calm road, maybe just a couple kilometers, and then turn around and head back home. That was the plan. Yeah. So my mom's horse that she had back in the day was a really bomb-proof horse. She was so sweet and so not scared of anything. You could literally fire off a bomb at her and she would not be scared. My horse, however, is halfly warm and halfly cold-blooded. So that means he is, he has temperament when he's scared of something, and he can be a handful, but I trusted him and we were honestly a really good team. So what could go wrong, right? We went around the corner and it was sunny outside. Everyone was outside gardening or sitting in the sun. It was such a lovely day, and we were just walking and everything was good and we were laughing. She was up front, I was in the back on my horse, just like a little train, okay? Then we both were like, let's go a little further, okay? Because why not? Everything's good. It's such a nice day. Let's move on driving down this road. So we did. So at some point further up down that road, there was a tractor heading towards us. Now, he was driving way too fast, way faster than is the limit right there on that road. Okay, now red flags all around that. But moving on, the tractor wasn't only speeding way too much, but also had this huge empty tank behind it. Now, you could imagine the noise which came from that tank, okay? Because it just slapped on the road, went way too fast. It was scary, okay? For us humans, it was. For my horse, it definitely was. So on that road, right next to it on the side, there was a huge verge. It is like probably 5 meters wide, okay? It's just a huge lap of grass. So my mom saw the way too fast driving tractor coming towards us, and she was like, we are gonna ride on that verge, okay? So we did, very carefully, you know, slowing our horses down. And my mom also signed to the person driving the tractor that he really had to slow down. First of all, because there are horses, people driving the horses, and thirdly, he was driving way too hard, so she was signing like, slow down, take it easy. He did not listen to that sign, nor did he look ahead if it was even safe to drive that hard, or if, you know, it's weird, but he didn't look or thought about anything like that or it being dangerous. So, like I said, my horse has a bit more temperament than my mother's horse. So my horse was trying to, you know, jump around, trying to gallop or do something to just get the hell out of there, okay? Because he wanted to be gone. He just found that tractor and that majorly loud tank behind it. He just find it way too scary. So I noticed it because I know my horse, and I have ridden since I was very, very young. So I was like, let's pull my horse around its own, like, you know, body. Because if you do that, your horse cannot run. And that was, at the time, my goal. I didn't want him to run, because that, you know, you never know what could happen then. So I was like, let's just turn him around into like super small circles so that he has to stay here, and then the tractor can ride off, be gone, and then we can safely return home. Or so I thought. While I was pulling my horse to go backwards and to like make these really tiny circles, the tractor with the majorly empty tank was riding next towards us and hit the speed bump. Now you could imagine a tractor driving way too fast with an empty tank, you know, flopping around, making lots of noises, flying over a speed bump. That is hella scary. And so thought my horse. So while I was turning him around, he was like, oh hell no, I'm getting out of here. And he did. So my horse, why am I still crying about this? It's been 15 fucking years. Yeah. Okay. So while I was guiding my horse to go back and go in circles, the majorly loud bump of the tractor came just right next to us, and my horse just took off. So my horse just ran. Like, the tractor was going this way, we were going this way, and here was the speed bump, okay? So I turned my horse around while the tractor was hitting the speed bump, and my horse just was like, we're going home. So my horse just ran up in front of the tractor, and it was like jockey style, okay? I was full on jockey mode. I am no far a bad horse rider, so I knew what to do. I was like, jockey mode, you know, I cannot fall off, I cannot fall off, I cannot fall off. And that is the last memory I have of that moment. Because while we were in jockey mode, running up that road, it was probably a couple kilometers. It was like a cat and mouse play, okay? Because the tractor didn't stop. He obviously saw me and my horse riding up front because, hello. He also saw that I was not protected. I didn't have a body protector on. I didn't have a cap on. I only had my other horse riding gear on and nothing for protection. Which I know sounds stupid, but that's just the way how it was at that moment, So we were being followed a couple kilometers, and honestly, the last thing I remember is the neck of my horse going like this right in front of me, and its head just moving up and down, up and down, up and down. His mane's like moving very fast because we were moving so fast, and the wind just going up on my ears. Because we were running so fast, and it was just, I couldn't hear a thing. I couldn't even hear the tractor anymore because the wind was blowing so fast. And the only thing I thought at that moment was, if I fall now, I'm unprotected. 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 And then it all went black. So I fell off my horse just before the corner. It was like a T road, a road in the shape of a T. And I just fell right behind that corner. And there are people that saw me fall. And some of them were saying that I jumped. It was my own decision to fall off my horse. And some people were saying, like, why the heck would you jump off a horse running that fast, unprotected on a road? She did not jump, she fell. And honestly, I cannot remember. Now, I cannot say this and be 100% certain, but me knowing myself, I would say it's very stupid to jump off of a horse unprotected while flying down a hardened road with obviously possible traffic coming your way. So, if you would jump off your horse with such a huge speed, chances are very high you would break a leg or an arm or both or more. So, I would not say that I jumped, but honestly, I don't know for sure. Anyways, just before the corner, I fell off my horse, and my horse ran around the corner, and there he was almost hit by a car. Now, the person in the car, miraculously enough, lived down the road I fell upon, okay? So she saw my horse with all the gear and all settled up, everything, but without a actual, driver on it. My horse ran back home. My horse is still fine. He didn't have a scratch. By the way, if you're an animal lover, he didn't have anything. However, I did. I'm also a huge believer that coincidences don't exist. Like, everything happens for a reason, and you are at the right time, at the right point, and everything like that. So the person in the car was actually a girl that lived down that road that I just had that accident. So she went around the corner and she saw me, and apparently, I have no memories of this, but apparently I wanted to stand up and I was pointing towards home, like, I need to get to my horse, I need to get to my horse, I need to get to my horse, because honestly, I'm always like another person first and animals first type of person. Like, I always think about other people and animals before I think about myself. And that is at times also very unhealthy. And in this scenario, it was very unhealthy because I fell on my head. I fell head first, body after. So since I was at such a huge speed and also I didn't have a cap on, I had a major hole in my head. And not only in my head, also in my skull. There was breakage in the bone structure of my skull. Because I felt so hard and with such a huge speed, there was lots of blood. So there was a huge, puddle of blood on the road, and the driver of the tractor, if you still want to know what he did, he stopped when I laid in my own blood, and I was 15 years old, and he was a grown-ass adult. Yeah, very nice. I cannot fathom that. I cannot understand that at all. So, when he stopped and I was laying in my own blood, the person in the car got to me, and weirdly enough, coincidences, she had a little medical background, so she knew what to do. It's amazing. She did amazingly in those very critical moments, which were the first moments after I fell and were very critical for me because I had a brain injury right away. And I did things, I said things, I do not have memories of them, like trying to stand up, me wanting to get to my horse. I don't have memories of that at all, but she had to calm me down and put me down and put me in a position that was the best for my neck and my brain and everything. And apparently I was crying in a very mantra-like way. It had a rhythm to it. So she made sure I was down, and people obviously called 911. Since it was so critical, the trauma helicopter came, and there were neuroscientists in there. Is that how you call it? People specialized in the brain area. And also someone who could put me to sleep, basically. So, yeah. So there were a couple of doctors in that trauma helicopter, and they had to fly out from the hospital to one of the great fields that were scattered around that road that I fell in. So there was a lot of room, luckily, so they could land, and then they speeded up towards me and they put me to sleep. And they wanted to take me in the trauma helicopter as well. Now, I do not know specifically what kind of tests they do. Obviously, I do not have any memories of it, and the people that were there around me had lots of adrenaline and lots of emotions. So, I don't really know what type of tests they do at that moment or that they had done at that moment. But they definitely tested my brain and how it was reacting, and basically it comes down to the pressure in my brain being way, and I mean way, too high. So they could not take me in the helicopter back to the hospital. Apparently, when your brain pressure, and obviously I think if your brain pressure is too high, you cannot go up in the sky because, it's too dangerous and you could, damage a lot of things. So they had to call out an ambulance. So they probably called 911 again, and an ambulance came, and then also police came. And it was a thing apparently, but I mean, I don't really know because I don't have memories of it, and also they put me to sleep right away. So, but I do have some pictures, and obviously, just like I said, I am going to share it all in depth. So yeah, when the ambulance came, they took me in and they took me to the hospital. Now, there was a traffic jam, and the hospital is like, what is it, like 20 kilometers away from the village that I lived in at that time, that my parents still live in. So it's about like 20 minutes to half an hour drive with normal traffic, but this was in a traffic jam because it was Monday around the hour of 5, I believe it was, in the afternoon. So lots of people wanted to go home. So there was lots of traffic. The policemen that were on motorbikes, were like zigzagging through the traffic jam to make space for the ambulance. Now, I'm not sure, actually, I have to ask this, if my mom went into that ambulance or if she went by car right after. I'm not sure, but she did go to the hospital straight away. Now, just a little side note, while this started, like me turning around, my horse getting in front of the tractor, my mom still thought I was right behind her. So apparently she said something around, "Are you still here? Are you doing okay? Luckily he's gone," something around that, and she didn't get a response. So she looked back and she saw me, jockey style, moving super fast. I mean, when a horse is scared, he can run very fucking fast. So she saw me, and obviously I cannot imagine how huge the amount of fear was in her body, because she just saw her 15-year-old daughter on a 600-700 kilo horse driving down towards home and not being protected, and the tractor not stopping. Like, it must have been very frustrating and very scary for her, and she saw it all. And she saw me falling. Now, I don't really know if that really came into her system, but she saw me falling and she saw me laying in my own blood, and she still was on her horse. So one of the neighbors that was just living around that corner got her horse while she was jumping off of it, and she was obviously with a lot of adrenaline and a lot of emotion running towards me. And that neighbor took my mom's horse, and he also said, "I'm going to take care of the horses." He just knew his way around horses and what to do, so he put them, I think he put them in their stalls, or I don't know. He just made sure the horses were safe. He made sure of that. While, yeah, in the meantime, my mom saw this, and she saw me laying in my own blood, and I cannot imagine how traumatic that must have been. Now, moving back to the traffic jam. So the policemen were making sure the ambulance where I was in got to the hospital in time. It was very critical, and there was a lot of haste with it, and everything needed to be done quick. So they examined me and they did lots of stuff, and out of those tests came that I needed to have a surgery straight away. And that surgery meant opening up my head, obviously, right here. And they opened it up behind my ear. So it was like a little door opening up. Like, I know it sounds very weird because they literally fold your hair and fold your skin over your own face, but I mean, I was asleep, okay? I did not notice a thing. But yeah, they did that. They opened up my head. And this entire part, like, you can still see it a little bit because it's has a little dent right here that I do not have here. Anyways, they removed this entire part of my skull and they put it in my belly, at the lower part of my belly, at the right side. So, first of all, that is so that my brain could swell. Just like I said earlier, my brain pressure was way too high. Now, this is what they told me. Don't pin me down on this, but I can imagine parts of this to be true. But they told me that if they had not taken out a part of my skull and your pressure, the pressure of your brain gets too high, your brain could explode. I'm not really sure if that's a thing. It sounds, I don't know, it could happen. I'm not a doctor. Don't pin me down on that, but I am really sure that if they did not had removed that piece of my skull, I would definitely have a lot of more brain damage than I do right now. And I already have lots of brain damages, so yeah. And I'm really happy that they did that because I want to live, you know? Yeah, I do. So my mom arrived at the waiting room she could be in while they operated me. Now, they operated me for several hours. I do not know how long, but it could have been 4 or 5 hours. I don't know. It was a long time. And my mom was obviously in shock. She was like this in the waiting room. These are all stories that have been told to me because obviously I wasn't really there. But apparently she was like in shock waiting in the waiting room, and doctors every now and then came to give her a little update. And at a certain point, the update to my mom was, "We're gonna be real with you. The chances are high that she would not survive the next morning. So please take that to your heart. Please consider that to be a very big possibility." So imagine that. Imagine hearing that as a mom. That breaks my heart. It does. And I just want to say I'm sorry, Mom, but I couldn't do anything about it. Honestly, that's what hurts me the most. The amount of heartache, the amount of pain this has all brought to the people I love. Like, imagine, I had friends, I had lots of classmates, I was in high school, I even had a coaching class, which was first grade, and everyone that knew me and that loved me had such tremendously pain, and honestly they still do, because lots of problems came out of this little moment, and more about those problems later on. Let's move on with the story. So at that time, me being 15, me being a teenager, obviously appearance was very important to me, and I had super long hair. And normally in these situations when, there's a lot of, it's very critical and they really need to speed up, they just make you bald. But for whatever reason, they really found that a shame, and they were like, we could save her hair. So they just shaved a small like strip of my hair right around here. Obviously it's all grown out, but at that time I was bald for like this much all around. And they braided my hair, and that was also possible because at the moment people called 911. There was actually like a class in the hospital about brain injuries, brain damages, brain operations, like that entire era. There was a class for it in the hospital. So people, like lots of specialized doctors, I think there were lots of doctors from different countries as well, but don't pin me down on that. And there were also lots and lots of students which were learning to be like a doctor for the brain and everything. So there were lots of people at that exact hospital all together while I was, being followed by a tractor, hit the road. People called 911, and you get the story. So long story short, there was lots of great help at the exact right time for me because they all jumped in, and also lots of students helped. It was also a great class, I suppose, for them, but that's why they had lots of different hands, and that's why they could braid my hair and why they did not make me bald entirely. So that was a huge coincidence, let's call it like that. So yeah, this part of my skull was removed. Like, they saw it out. I don't know exactly how they do it, but I'm imagining it's like a lot of noise, a lot of blood, whatever. And they put it in my belly to also have a lower chance of it being rejected again when they put it back. Now, they only put it back when the brain pressure has gone back to normal again. And also when you survived, that's also, so normally that takes up to several months, and that means your brain is not protected because there's literally just a tiny piece of skin around your brain and nothing more. That was very dangerous because they said to me, if something hits you on that spot, you'll die. Now let me tell you, you don't live very happily if you know that. So I got this helmet, which I'm gonna put it on because this is how it is, and I was very ashamed of this helmet, but this is how it was. Okay? Like that, you could do on my belly while it still was in there, but that's beside the point. Anyways, this has been so long that I've done this. It feels really weird, and it feels really uncomfortable, but this is how it was. And this side is extra thick because obviously it needed to be extra protected. And I was really ashamed to put on this helmet because you kind of look like an, I decided to make it a little cuter. So I put this hat on, which I had, and it was in fashion back then to put like cute hats on and everything. And yeah, I tried to make something out of it, okay? After they successfully removed this part of my brain, put it into my belly, and put me in the IC, my mom and dad could visit me. And obviously that wasn't a nice sight because I was all, I had everything you could have. You could have. I had everything you could have in a hospital. Like, I had everything. Like, IVUs, is that the word? Obviously, this story is very emotional for me and it has a lot of terms which I'm not super familiar around, and also it's in English, so I need to translate everything in my head. Sometimes that's hard, so let me just show you the pictures. And you can imagine how shocking this can be when it's someone you love. And also, these were all images that you could have seen even a week after. Yes, I said it. I was in a coma for a week. Now, the first couple of days, I'm pretty sure it was 2 days, they kept me in a coma. So a medically coma. They kept me sleeping so that my body could, heal and that I had less pain waking up. So it's apparently very normal. If something that traumatic happens to you, they keep you in a medical coma. But after a few days, they stopped those medicines. So I should have woken up. I did not do that. Now, a medium once told me that I didn't want to return home because I was in front of the gates, the gates of light, the gates of heaven, but the gates would not open up for me because it wasn't my time. But also it was so warm and so nice that I didn't want to return back home. So you could believe whatever you want to believe, but I do know that I had lots of heavenly dreams and heavenly feelings and mantras and things while I was in a coma. And also lots of things that were happening in real life got to me, but they were on a different level. I cannot really explain it, but it was I've never been high or anything, but I can imagine when you're on drugs and very high, you hallucinate, right? So it's I got information that was happening around me, but with a twist. Now, the dreams that I had were out of this world. They were very heavenly and very mind fuckery. But over time, the puzzles really fit. I didn't really realize it while I was in coma, but afterwards, I realized what I've been through while I was in coma and what I've dreamt about. About a week later, they had a choice to get me off of the breathing tubes or keep me on it. They really wanted me to wake up. So they also had lots of pain triggers in lots of different ways, in lots of different points of my body. They tried to wake me up with pain triggers that did not work. I did not respond. So at a certain point, it was are we gonna take off her breathing devices? Because my parents asked the doctors, is it possible that she would not wake up? Is it possible that this will be a long-term coma? And the doctors said, yes, it's possible. If we really want her to wake up, we need to get her off these breathing devices because then she needs to breathe on her own and then hopefully she'll wake up. So they did that. There was a tractor. They decided to get me off of all the breathing devices that I had on. And they I'm pretty sure they left the tube in because you need to breathe through the tube, I think, for a couple of minutes or like 10-15 minutes. And if you can do that, you're able to breathe on your own, and then the tube gets removed and everything. So I still remember the traumatic feeling of breathing through a straw. Like, obviously it was not a straw, it was a tube in my entire throat area. But since I had a brain injury and I was also on medication and I was also earlier in a coma, everything had a twist. It was like I was hallucinating, basically. So to me, it really felt like I was breathing through a straw, and I had to breathe through that straw like hella long. And also they tied me to my bed, my arms and my legs, like my wrists and my legs. They tied that to the bed because I apparently woke up kind of, scared and frustrated and angry and aggressive and everything. So, and I wanted to pull everything out of me. And obviously you cannot do that, unfortunately. So they tied me to the bed, and I did remember being tied and that I had to breathe through a straw, which was the tube. Anyways, I succeeded that and I woke up, and they moved me from the IC to the like normal children's rooms. It was a big hospital. It was a hospital in Utrecht, by the way, if you want to know, if you're known or familiar with the Netherlands. I was brought up from the IC to a normal room, and the hallways were like orange from top to toe. Like they were extremely orange, and the only thing I remember of waking up in those hallways was like, oh wow, it's so orange. Like, that was the only thought I had. Then later on that day, nurses came to my bed and they all said to me, Laura, do you know where you're at? You're at the hospital right now. You survived an accident. And I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? Now, when the first person did that, you have a very huge what the fuck moment, but you just move on with your life, kind of. Because I couldn't move, I was attached to a bed. And I was also in a huge state of, I can't think and I don't know what to do. So later on, a second assistant came and she said the same thing. Laura, do you know where you're at? You're at the hospital. You survived an accident. And then you're like, okay, sure, I don't know. Then the third assistant comes in, and this is starting to sound like a really bad joke. But the third assistant came in and she also said, Laura, do you know where you're at? You're at the hospital. You just survived an accident. And then you're like, I heard that before? That is very weird. And then, like half hour later, the fourth assistant comes in and she says to you, Laura, do you know where you're at? You're at the hospital. You just survived an accident. And then you're like, this is very wrong. This is very weird. I need to get the hell out of here. Obviously, I had major brain damage and I was also on morphine and, just out of coma. Like, my brain was not functioning or not as it's supposed to be, because I was not dumb or anything and I did pick up on things, but reality kind of like shifted into not reality in my head. And the other way around. I had major thoughts in my head. I was honestly convinced that I was abducted by aliens, And it's okay if you laugh right now, but that was truly what I was convinced of. Like, I watched those series while I was younger, like, was it 103, 10, I don't know, like the series where people get abducted by aliens and by UFOs to be like a mother to their kids, and like they inject alien babies into your body, and or they do tests on your body because they're very curious about the human race and yada yada. Like, I have watched those movies and those series while I was young. This was overcoming me, and I did not have any memory of it, yet everyone told me that this has happened to me. Well, I didn't have any memory of it. Like, how weird is it if people tell you that you have gone through something while you, the person that has gone through it, has no memory of it? That is very weird, let me tell you that. So I was honestly convinced, also because I have lots of devices on my body, I was convinced that there were aliens and that they were doing tests on me, or that they wanted to like incubate a alien baby in my body. I don't know. That was definitely what I was convinced of. So let's be real. I did not treat the staff, the people in the hospital, and I did not treat my mom as I should treat them. And I also said sorry afterwards. But at that moment, I was 100% convinced that everyone around me, okay, was an alien in a human body. Let's leave it with that. Around 1.5 weeks later of being in the hospital, being very traumatized because I couldn't get out of bed, so I had to pee and poop into a diaper. I know it's TMI, but that is what happened to me. I was 15 years old and I had to poop and pee into a diaper, which was very humiliating, and the people, which were grown adults working there, had to clean me down there. It was very humiliating, so I did not like that. So I couldn't do anything, so I had to lay in bed all day. There was a TV that I could that was hanging from the wall, I think, on a huge arm, so I could move that up and like watch TV every now and then, but also I was very overstimulated very easily, so I was also very tired, so I slept a lot. I couldn't talk to anyone, I couldn't see anyone except my close family. So my parents visited, and also my sisters. I have 2 older sisters. They visited, and later on my grandparents, and then later on also a couple of friends. But it was a very lonely and humiliating time, and yet I was also very happy for the smallest things ever. Couldn't really eat because my throat was so sore of the tube that I had in for an entire week while I was in coma. I couldn't eat. It was so sore. It was so raw. It was so, not nice. I lost a lot of weight, and I only ate the cucumber slices that they give with the like room service menu. My mom ate the other things that I got from the menu. I could barely eat a sandwich during the day, but I could eat the desserts because those were like cold and, fluidy. And once a week, I don't know what this brand is called in other countries, but in Dutch it's called Danone or Danoontje. It's this like kid-friendly yogurt fruity type of dessert, and that was my favorite at that time because all the other desserts were weird. And I also got these shakes, like those protein shakes or like fattening shakes, because I had way too much calories because I couldn't eat. And those were gross as well. And once a week, we got that dessert, that Danone dessert. But since that was the only thing I really liked and really sparked my joy and I could really eat, the person that was delivering the desserts and delivering the menus was so kind. I still remember her vividly. I do not have any photos with her, but I still remember her very vividly. She was such a warm and loving soul. She secretly, right now it's not a secret anymore while I'm posting this, but she secretly made sure I got that Danone dessert every day since the moment she knew that it was the only thing I really liked and the only thing I really could eat. I still want to thank her from the bottom of my heart. She probably doesn't watch these videos, but hopefully the energy gets out. Like, that was so sweet, and I will remember her till the day I die. Like, I kid you not, she did wonders for me, okay? She did. Okay, now on to a little bit more practical thing. Obviously, since this part of my skull was in my belly, it was, first of all, very hard for me to put on pants, shoes, socks. I could not do that. I could not lift the right side of my body. Like, I could not lift my right leg. It could not go higher than, like, not very high, basically. It felt like there was timber in my belly, okay? You could knock on it. I kid you not. I kid you not. I remember this very vividly, and people always, also, not always, but also did this to me. Like, you could knock on the bottom of my belly. It was so hard, and I could not, put on pants. So my parents had to do that, or people in the hospital had to do that for me every single day up until that piece of skull was going to be put back again, if the pressure was low enough, like normal enough, you know, because honestly, my brain was bigger than my skull at that moment, and you could also, like, of course, right now my skull's back, like nothing, you know, it's normal-ish. But at that time, it was like jelly. I cannot explain it to you how it felt like jelly with skin around it. And I used to watch TV like this because I just found that feeling of jelly in my head very weird and very cool also, in a weird way. But yeah, so literally my brain was too swollen with blood and liquids, fluids and everything, because of the trauma that it had. So they could not put the skull back in, or the part of the skull back in, for a couple of months, or so they thought, because I honestly prayed and prayed and prayed until I got a CT scan. And I had asked lots of angels for help, like, please, please help me. I really want this part of the skull to be back, because it was really limiting me in living as a normal 15-year-old. Now, I could not live as a normal 15-year-old because I had to stay home. But yeah, so then 7 weeks later, or maybe 6 weeks later, I got a CT scan because they wanted to see if the pressure had been lowered and if it was healthy enough to put the part of the skull back out of my belly into my head again. So it was, like, I still remember being in that device of the scanner and being like, please, I know that I know a couple of my angels of the angels that I have, protection angels. So I really asked them, like, please help me, please let this be good enough, please, please, please. And it was good enough. So 7 weeks later, which was majorly early, apparently. They put the part of the skull out of my belly back into my head, and that was hella scary. Hella scary. You could see that in this picture. I was so scared. I was so scared. Also, I had to wait up until I was the last to be pulled out of the waiting room to have an operation. I was the last one to be pulled out of the waiting room, which was insane. What I'm holding now is very sad because these were the clothes I was wearing while I got into the accident. Now, my mom has washed them and everything, but they were cut open for the surgery. First of all, it's this tank top. It basically, yeah. And then right under it, I had a tank top, like gray. And this is very sad because this was my favorite riding trousers, okay? It's from the brand Horka riding gear. And I really loved it because it has like sparkles. It was cut open all the way. Now, since the moment that I was released out of the hospital, I basically had no help. No help. Absolutely no help. So from the minute of me being a healthy 15-year-old teenager and looking like this, because this is the last photo that I took of me right before the accident. This was the Sunday right before the Monday of the accident. Now, from that point on, up to this point, and to this point, I had no help whatsoever. So there weren't any psychiatrists or, nothing. I had a huge trauma. Like, I cannot fathom, I cannot tell you how huge that trauma is, especially when you're 15. Now, of course, this is an awful story, and this is traumatic when you're 30, 40, 50, whatever age, okay? But when you're in your teenage years, you're still figuring life out, and you're still figuring yourself out, and like what could happen and everything. I was so much in my growing phase and like getting to know myself, getting to know life. That all stopped completely because I had to, be healthy, and I had to get back on track, and I had to get out of the hospital and everything, and it was insane. I got no help. Now, a few weeks after that, I had my exams. Now, honestly, my high school was very helpful because I couldn't go to school. Now, school was kind of almost done, but I couldn't go to school. That was unsafe because of, the helmet thing, and they were very afraid that some other classmate or someone in school would like pull out a prank on me and hit me in the head or something. So that was very unsafe for me. So I couldn't go to school, and I also couldn't do my exams at school. So I had to do them at home, at the kitchen table. Now, luckily, the school provided that, and I also got into the paper for it because I was doing my exams with a brain injury. Now, there's a small picture of that. There you go. And I luckily graduated, and I got to go to the gala. Now, I couldn't go to the entire gala. The gala, first of all, was one day after the surgery where they put my skull back in. So that surgery was on Wednesday, and Thursday was the gala. So they really took everything out of the closet in the hospital to make sure I was out and about that Thursday so that I could go to the gala. Now, my hair wasn't working with me. I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling very nauseous, very sick to the stomach because of obviously all medications. But I went to the gala. I couldn't went to the after party afterwards because that was, I don't know, too not safe for me. I don't know, but my parents decided I couldn't go to the after party. Now I'm having lots and lots of countless troubles and problems still from this very small moment. My brain has been damaged, and so has my mental health and also my physical health, and that's all combined to each other. Of course, here and there, I could maybe have a little growth, but it's very unreasonable to think and to ask of me to maybe one day work full time. And I hope that there is maybe a path for me to make, a work environment out of this. And obviously, you do not have to do that, but if you want to help me out on this problem that I'll have for the rest of my life and just help me out a small bit, it would be really great if you would subscribe on my channel and give it a like and a comment if you would. Like, I do not have any options other than trying to make it on my own. It's heavy to live with a brain injury. Let me tell you that. It is very heavy. It's definitely a conflict and definitely a thing that I need to tackle every single day. Every single day. Because if I do not, I'll lose myself, and I do not want to lose myself. Hey there, it's future Laura right here. I just had to cut this video off because, first of all, I had video material of 3 hours. So that's way too long. Second of all, I started to get really, really, really emotional at the end of the video. Now, I did not want it to be just a crying video or a dramatic video. That's not the point of this video. Now, I'm not a pygmy girl, or look at me, I'm having such a hard life. That is not the point of this video. The point of this video is to tell you, like, look, I know life can be bad. I'm living through it still every day, like living with a disability, a handicap, especially things that are invisible. People are very mean about, people forget it, people don't get it. It's very hard living with it. Now, me personally, I also don't really have any help for it. I did went to trauma therapy. That was on my own cost or my parents' costs. If I go to therapy, to a psychologist, whatever, it's on my own cost. I do not get any financial support from the government. If you have a handicap or a disability right here in the Netherlands, you get some sort of financial support from the government because you cannot make it on your own financially wise. Now, me personally, because of my disability, I cannot make it on my own financially because I cannot work enough hours to be like stable and to pay everything myself. Now, unfortunately, since I was 15 years old while I had this accident, the government is like, girl, you don't have any loss of career hours. You don't have any loss of money career-wise. Well, duh, I was in school. I was 15 years old. So I don't get any help financially or in any way, shape, or form from the government. So I have to make it all on my own. And that is also why I started this YouTube channel, because I am really hoping to, first of all, share my light and share my stories and help you out there if you're struggling, and to share my love, because I honestly have enough for all you guys. And I would love to help you with a little bit of positivity, a little bit of light, love, and sparkle back into your daily life. I do not want to share this video because I want to share a message of me being a victim, like, look at me, I'm having such a worse life than everybody else. That's not the case. However, I do think I am a victim of very unfair laws and the government thing. Also, of the person that was driving the tractor, didn't even visit me, didn't even send flowers or anything. I was in a coma. Like, there's a lot of unfairness to this story and to my life, and that is very hurtful and unfair and hard. However, I am not living my life like a victim. I am getting up every single day and I'm trying my hardest. Now, this, health-wise, is a battle that I do need to take on every single day for the rest of my life, which is hard. And that's just how my life is. However, I am not gonna live like a victim, because I have got so far. I have gotten so far, even with this disability, like, it's insane, and I forget it, honestly, a lot of the times, because I always want more and I'm always ready for the next step. However, I was burnt out. I was in a depression. I wanted to die several times. This is making me a little emotional. But I wanted to end things several times. Now, I think this video is way too long already, even though I cut lots of things out of it. Again, the reason why I wanted to share this video is because I want to show you that even if you are in the darkest place in your life right now, you can get out of it and things will get better. Honestly, I'm the living proof of it, and I will help you throughout the day and throughout your journey. So if you want to help me on my journey, or if you just want to connect, if you like my videos, if you could use some help, or just like spirituality in general, please, please, please click the subscribe button down below. And if you put on the bell next towards it, you'll get a little notification every single time I upload something here on YouTube. Now, thank you for watching this very hard story. At least for me, is really close to my heart. So please be gentle with it. And if you liked it, please give it a little thumbs up. And until next time, I wish you the best